Hello, Heavenly Tea. Here I am. Yes, Dr. Isabel Aimee. Hi, nice to see you again. And I've got Mathew in. You know Mathew from Okay, Let's Do This. Here's his Rumble Tumble. You know, I can just do that moving across.
I'm not worried about my...
Because he wanted to talk about my books and my music, which is important, and it's great to have a partner. I wanted to say Gesprächspartner. I mean, German vocabulary at the moment. So here we go. Here he comes.
Wow.
Yeah.
You do love your color.
Are we going to talk about my music?
Let's do that. I think it's long overdue.
Okay. What's your favorite song, the ones I've sent you?
And let me pull up your website, my website, your page on my website. By the way, if everybody wants to know, it's theoceansecret.com, and you can click on Inspirations. It's the last tab, and you'll see her image, which actually, yeah. And the one that I listen to the most is the one that's on here. I don't know if I play it, would that be a good idea right now? All right, so let me click play and see what it sounds like. I believe it's time.
Good. I was hoping you were going to say that. Just because that was the one that was played at this party recently, and it was so falling over. And it was so beautiful for me because it was a wonderful sound system. It was perfectly balanced.
To receive your love, open like a flower to this gift from above. I am the jewel, your light is sparkling in me. I play the fool to be. It's time to receive, to believe that it's yours holding me, keeping me true. And down here on the ground, it's time to know where I stand and to hear where I'm coming from. It's time for a woman like me to sing this song. Holding me as I feed you with my precious light. This was only created to put an end to those endless fights. It's time to wash away those tears and endless pain. Free this soul, dancing in the night.
people knew the host and how much he loves music, and so they were in a beautifully receptive state. So I got to just witness. I wasn't performing, I was just listening, watching how it affected people, and that was a real pleasure for me, as I've had to, step so far back from music in that
Let's
way.
talk about what I'd like to talk about, what I'd like to have you talk about personally, if it was up to me, is what inspired that song in your heart to sing it, and what about that song is important to you. It's two different, very, very important things.
Yeah, and of course linked. So that song, the way it was composed, I'm actually going to start sort of from an edge to answer that, because I love to compose where it's just you open your connection to your spirit and just receive in a download. So that's actually how I made that song. And then I worked with my pianist who I was working with, and he and I then took the original lyrics that I'd created with the melody, and then he played around with it, and so we were both actually then experimenting. The lyrics never changed. I had actually two versions of lyric for that song, which is interesting.
Oh.
And two slight differences. I'll bring out the other one day when I can find it in my system, but two slightly different lyrics and two slightly different melodies. And then we formed it together. So I had the preformed version, which I delivered in one go through my consciousness and just recorded it somewhere. And then we developed it, but again in one chunk. So we were both in a state of energetic connection. So it flowed. And the song is about being the authentic self. And it's about this adjustment in the mind to fully own and believe that it is the right time to do that, the right time to be that it was a witness bearing testament to this idea of sovereignty, before I use that word, that more and more of us would be present with our full selves, our full soul selves in the world. And as a result of that presence, we would have an impact. That was the internal message of that song.
Okay. I have two more very good questions. I hope they're good ones. For that song, not referring to the whole thing, but what part of that song did you enjoy the most, where you found yourself in the note, in the word, almost to the point where you didn't even realize you were doing it? You felt so into it.
There are different sections. So I was actually singing it on a walk yesterday, just in the woodland, and it was lovely. So I used this. There's one phrase which is "free the soul, dancing in the night," and the way that moves is there's a sort of waterfall of notes. Night is one syllable officially, but in this particular song I meant it into about 9 syllables, funnily enough. So it was using words to describe a state of being, and the melody does the same. So for me, when the mix of melody and word are absolutely in alignment, you're describing something which is beyond words. And so that's a real joy to sing. I'll visit bits of song like that. I was singing the whole song, but then I was going over certain bits again and again, because it was just so nourishing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just joyful. It's not like a happy song, but it was a deeply joyful resonance for me to hold that song and keep pouring it out.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about, is that's some songs, like pop songs and country and all those things, they'll make you feel good in the moment and you want to sing along with them. And they'll even make you feel emotionally better. You'll get into it, you'll be happy, you'll be singing, you're really belting out people driving in their car and they're alone or whatever, they're singing into it. But there's only some music that actually makes you stop and you go into something within.
Transcendent.
Right. One of those people that does that, which I've mentioned to you before, is Enya. And she takes it as some rare artists do and creates layers. And I find myself listening to her when she finally does put out the music, which is not very often. That yeah, it's pretty good. There's some that I don't like, I'm just not into it, but there's other ones that I'm just like, whoa. And all of a sudden, my thing is the typing and creating stories start to form in my head, as you already know. But my question would be is what kind of different approach might you want to take in the future with your own singing? Would you want to grow in a different direction or stay in the path that you are?
Well, I see kind of two paths for my future with the voice because I haven't performed with it much for so long.
Mhm.
Firstly, it costs, a fortune to run a band, and all that entails, the hall, the paying the musicians, the recording. I mean, it just goes on. The cost is just astronomical to work with musicians if you want to use them for your music. Yeah, because you can't just expect them to
Oh,
turn
I
up and
agree.
put in hours of rehearsal for nothing. That just doesn't work. So there was that kept it away, and so I have this musical called "The Storm Is Us," which is about this story of our time, the development from utter ignorance to empowerment of humanity, which is told through the Magna Carta and the US Constitution. That's the framework with this love story. So that's something that I came up with a lot of the songs 2 years ago. And I've just shelved them for now, but I want to, this summer, to go in and put some of the actual musical arrangements, so not just my vocal melody, but the actual
Mhm.
structure of the music. I want to do some of that. So there is that. And that's a different kind of work because the melodies come through me still in big chunks, and the lyrics just big, like I described with the I Believe It's Time. But the arrangement is a totally different thing. It's scientific with creativity because you can't write chord structures without being a mathematician, essentially. You really have to analyze it. So there is that. And then there's the other area that I've worked in a lot in the last 3 years, which is things like altering the weather with your voice, teaching healing of the personal sphere, the bodies, whether it's your energetic or your physical, your emotional body. And I think that, that's an area that I will always be expanding because it's such a joy to just channel through your own body and instrument sound waves which penetrate and spread out into space, doing things. You can
Okay.
heal, you can teach people to heal their bodies. So a lot of teaching is great, but also to inspire people that you can use your own sound to create change in the environment. That's definitely something which is basically the future of vibrational healing. It's ancient tech, it's Lemurian. I know it's Lemurian, but it's about bringing it into present day. And when I was talking to my inner earth being Elfie, we talked a lot about that because vibrational healing is something that is done on other vibrational planes with great efficacy and regularity. And we're only just baby steps moving into it as a human race. I mean, I've cured my body like that for decades, whether it's a twisted ankle or whatever it is. But yeah.
Okay. Now I've got three other questions of all of them are going to be significant. This one you just mentioned a little bit. And what I would say is you're talking a little bit about spirituality combined with science. How, in it's specifically just on that subject, how do you want to move forward with that if people were to say, oh, I want to learn about that?
So I bumped into a neurologist yesterday in a little tiny post office and had this conversation with her because I kind of bumped into a conversation that she was having already with the owner of this shop, who was an acquaintance of mine. So we just jumped in and I found out that this woman had been a neurologist and we talked about sound and voice. And I suggested she go back and start looking at papers and thinking about writing again, even though she hadn't practiced for years. because she was interested in vibrational healing and the research being so very small, but she knew from a child onwards that sound frequency of specific frequencies would affect your entire neurological system, from even the effect of sound on a developing fetus in the womb, in the genetic expression. We touched on that in this very small conversation, and I was encouraging her that even though she's in her late 70s, she was obviously a brilliant mind, I wanted her to sort of go back and start writing papers, because I said so much of that has been repressed, that information, but it's starting to come through, and people are starting to connect things. So when I did an article 2 years ago on the pineal gland and oxytocin and men's emotional suppression, because men's system of hormones is obviously different from women. Oxytocin is produced rarely through exercise mostly, whereas for women oxytocin is the whole childbirth hormone, which enables you to bear the pain and to forget the pain, and the whole lactation system is with oxytocin. So I was talking about that, the happiness, emotional intelligence system of the pineal gland, and I was looking into the most recent research papers I could find, and identifying how the decalcification of the pineal gland could be achieved. And there were some papers where they were talking about 10 millihertz, which is a frequency that has been identified as working neurologically with the system of our cranial nerves and various others. And when I was looking at that, I revisited my old research. Years ago, I was commissioned to write a book on the solfeggio tones, except I was not going to be qualified as the author. It was going to be a ghost authorship, and I would be paid rubbish. So I said, no, sorry. If I write that book, I'll write it in my name, thanks. But that was because I was researching it decades before anyone else was talking about sound frequency healing. And now, I know there's a long answer, but there's a lot of information about frequency and healing that is incorrect, and it's floating around there, and it's become kind of calcified as fact, like 528 hertz, that's perfect, that's for your heart, and 425, and these different 440 hertz, 432 hertz, different things are associated, but people don't actually understand what that means. They don't understand that when you play a piece in the key of G, it has F sharp and it has C sharp, and the frequencies in that scale are the range in that whole octave or several octaves. So those are the frequencies. People think this piece of music is in 528 hertz. It's like, no, guys, that's C. Yes, C in this case is tuned to 528 hertz, but every single other note has a different frequency. No one understands this, and yet you've got this music, the new age music industry that talks about this, and the healing industry that skims off the back of it, and it's disgusting. I hate it because people are making fortunes out of lies. Mm-hmm. So back to the story that I want to be able to be part of that developmental knowledge to show people what specific frequencies will do, and for people to understand that you or I will have different frequencies which will work. Let's say you've twisted your ankle and I've twisted my ankle, right? And I get you to sing a note which pervades through your body because I show you how you can do that. So you have this reverberation. Your note is going to be entirely different from mine, because your bone structure, your physique, your vocal structure, your lungs, everything is different. And the way we currently do medicine, as you know, is one size fits all. So it's like, C major is for this. It's like, no, that's nonsense. So we are so confined in our old perception, whereas I've already gone beyond that for years and tried to bring it through piece by piece. But honestly, it's like a losing battle, because some of the people who are on the forefront of that movement and get spoken to by all the top people, they are telling fucking lies, and it does drive me a little bit up the wall. They've got big presence and big social media, and people come to their courses and blah 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 blah, And it's based on wrong information, because a lot of those people who are intuitive singers, they don't have the analysis. They're not doing the analysis, and they're accepting half-truths and perpetuating them. So we have another lot of lies that people accept and go, oh, right, this is the truth, because no one's actually investigated. And that's marvelous for the cabal or any baddies who keep us in control. Say, ha, 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 they missed it again, because they didn't look, they didn't bother, they didn't examine, they didn't use the full being, which is all of that beautiful intuition and analytical capacity. So there's my long answer.
That's okay. I have three more. I've added one more. And this one goes off of what you just talked about. Let's say people find you, they find your website, by the way. That's a key for you.
That's inspirition.biz. But you know, I discovered recently, I can't say who, couldn't even read that word right. It's like, yeah, it's inspiration,
okay. So,
but it's in
spell it
spirit, in spirit ion, inspirition. Just like inspiration, same word, different meaning, is with an A in it, but this is inspiration. So inspirition.biz, right?
So now I'm going to be really cruel here, and I'm going to actually ask you to spell it out word by word,
No,
letter by letter.
It'll go on the screen. INSPIRITION.biz.
There you go. .biz. Okay. Now, the reason I bring that up is because if people want to hear your music for pleasure, that's one thing. But what happens if people want to learn more about this subject you just talked about in detail scientifically? Would you be willing to go in a direction where you could give them lessons?
Oh, of course.
And you'd sell them.
But I mean, I've written a book about this for The Voice. In fact, I mean, I've written
and
several
how do people
books
know
where
about
it's
that?
referred to. But one of the books I wrote, in like 2009, I think. Maybe 2009, 2011, I published it. Singing Rainbows, and it was a guide to your voice. So that's a nice reference book. There's a little bit more about the vibrational and diverse use of your voice in my conversations with Elfie, the inner earth being, as well. And there's some references to it in the Speaking House, the New Earth Education for the Children of the World, even though that's a big book about education. But there are some in there because, of course, there are lots of techniques you can do with your voice that I demonstrate as examples of a different way of being. But yeah, I mean, you can work. I worked across the globe with people through Zoom, which is not amazing, but you can still pick up because we're psychic beings. So yeah. I can hear, I can see, and I can feel. Of course, you can come to me in person too, you're sure. But yeah, I love to do that because often you don't need to spend very long with someone. You maybe need 1 or 3 sessions and you kind of kick them off into their own discovery journey, which is how it should be, you know?
Okay, so now let me take one more. I'm going to add another question that follows that one as well. It's kind of a nice little segue. Are there any instruments, musical instruments that people can buy that not only would give them pleasure and they could learn them if they wanted to, but also have the scientific impact that you're talking about?
Yeah, you know that German, yes and no. The thing is with instruments compared to the voice is an instrument is fixed. You know, you got your cello, right? It's a piece of amazingly created wood. It's very complicated to make. It needs lots of years of craftsmanship and it's tuned specifically. Yet a cello has no frets. You can play all kinds of notes on it, but still it has a certain range, a certain timbre that's fixed. Whereas a human voice, even though the music industry may tell us otherwise, you know, the music industry trains us to think you can only sing in one way. I mean, I had a girl come up to me after a gig I just did an open mic night, a couple of songs, and she sort of said, oh, I really like that kind of old-fashioned vibe you've got with your voice, as though that's the only kind of way I could sing it. It was a backhanded compliment, okay? It wasn't a real one, but it's because I didn't compliment her when she sang. I complimented 2 other people, and so you get into trouble when you choose only the ones who you know have a real future. But And I thought to myself, but interesting she said it, because we're programmed that there's one way you use a voice. A human voice, when you have a different emotion, your sound comes out differently. That's spoken. But when you sing, you can have different energetic states where you access different realms of your body. I first discovered that in meditation, when suddenly this jazz voice came out of me, and it was just like, where did that come from? Right? and then I was in a car a few years later, and suddenly this massive opera voice came out. It was like, whoa. Yeah, so I would find different personalities of voice, and there are ways you can find different voice. In other words, human voice, you can find this huge repertoire of singing for pleasure and entertainment, to working with the weather and the elementals, and healing, vibrational, in person or at a distance. However, a keyboard, a piano, is interesting because it demonstrates so much. Because a piano has, unlike a cello, for example, and a guitar is a little bit like this, but not much. The piano has all those notes laid out. It's not labeled. You can stick labels on. But you get this idea of, okay, that and that, this is a frequency measurement between these two notes. And we need to understand how our sound in our culture is constructed. In China, it's different. In the Arabian lands, it's different. They have different modes, different scale modes. In India, it's different, the raga. The way sound moves from one to the next, different intervals. So it's like you have different height steps in those different countries. Whereas we have, in our Western music, this classic, tone, 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 semitone, tone, tone, which gives you a division between one frequency and the next. We have A tuned to 440 hertz currently. It used to be tuned to 432. And the increments from A to B to C to D to E to F, etc., go in mostly regular increments in our scale. Okay. And in a piano, you can see it mapped out. So you can learn a lot about it. But the danger is that because it's mapped out and it's fixed, you think those are the only notes in the universe. And it's really brilliant. You go to India and you find they have microtones, which are in between. There's even less than a quarter. It's less than a quarter tone. You've got tone, semitone. You can have quarter tones. You can have even less. But if you use your voice, you can create any of those notes, as long as your mind can comprehend its possibility. So if you want to take music seriously, I would always say, go for an instrument which is not fixed and one which is fixed, and learn both. So a recorder with notes, that's fixed, because you can only play what those notes will give you. A cello, a violin, a viola, you can slide around. A fretless bass, you can move through the microtones. A sitar even has frets, but some of them don't. Some of the ouds don't have frets, so some of these other instruments from other lands. A piano has this regular division. A harp has a regular division, all of those notes are put in. But a theremin, which is an electric instrument, you have all the microtones in existence because it's electronic. So we have to get past that limitation that we've had allowed to be put upon us. There's only A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There is A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, just as there is A flat, B flat, D flat, etc. But still, that is a palette, and in between there is a lot more going on.
Okay.
Higher octaves, lower octaves. So yeah.
All right. So
Long answer again. Sorry.
Now, people who are going to be your audience, excuse me while I scratch. Sometimes people will say, oh, I liked this version. I'd like to hear you sing something else, almost like people saying personal requests. How would you feel if there was a significant number of requests for you to sing in a direction that they may want, but you had not anticipated to something you would do?
depends. It depends on the thing, you know. It depends on the song. It depends on the style. It depends on many things. Like I just did this open mic night with 2 songs. One which was Over the Rainbow, and one which was this guy's song, his own song. And I think he was a little disappointed the way I sang it, even though I know I sang it beautifully, but it wasn't his precise way, right? Because of course we just had like 2 hours to learn the songs, or an hour and a half, which is interesting because sometimes we, like I said, with a piano, you have a very fixed idea of what you want, and I don't want to be fixed, because when I go and perform a song, I've got me, I've got my whoever musician or the musicians I'm working with, and I've got a space, a place, and I've got all the people in it. And every single one of those factors should interact with the sound that I produce. So bearing that in mind, I'm open to singing anything. You know, I've sung all kinds of stuff, all kinds of styles. But yeah, if I don't like it, I'm not going to sing it. I might explore it to see if I like it.
I think it's because there are some people that have certain preconceived notions of what is the best music in their opinion, from the typical classic rock to country, western to pop to classical to all the other genres in between. So that's why it's just a very curious question is if somebody said, "Hey, would you sing an Elvis Presley song or one of the like the old classic song Lollipop from I forget the name of those girls who created that song."
Lollipop, lollipop, that one.
Yeah. Then I guess my last question that I've got here is what people may not know about you, which I think would be important, is your musical, and this is a technical question about your voice. What is your range that people need to be aware of? Because there's a person out there who appeared to have this, according to the mainstream media, a range that was phenomenal. And what was her name? She's
Bush.
Still alive today to do it. It wasn't
Bush.
Whitney. Well, huh?
Kate Bush.
No, she. I'm talking about somebody who still sings to this day. Kate Bush is still singing, but she doesn't have the capability anymore. I just recently listened to her. She's definitely.
Oh no, it's retracted. No, but she used to have her 4-octave.
But and I love Kate. I love her music, especially her most popular song. You know, she has a bird on her arm in one scene, and she's walking through. I absolutely fell in love with that woman. I had the biggest crush on her. But I'm talking about another one. She had a huge Christmas song, and she kind of has this look at me attitude, unfortunately.
What is this, a pop person?
Yeah.
What does she look like?
She's Mexican, kind of tanned skin. She's very much into her upper body and how it appears. She sang a huge Christmas song that's now considered to be a classic. And she's in the video. She's rolling around in the dog in the snow in a birthday suit. She's got a dog there, and there's a Christmas thing. It's not Mariah Carey. It's one that's like Mariah Carey.
Is it not? Is it Christina Aguilera?
No.
Later.
This one is.
Later.
Who is it?
Is it later? I don't know what time period you're looking.
Maybe a little bit later. Yes. Or she's a little older. Let me say it that way.
Well, they're quite
rocking around. It's not rocking around the Christmas tree. No, it's not that old. It's a very popular song now, and she has an extraordinarily high pitch. And my question is, with your range, do people know about it, and what is your range? That's the question.
Well, the range is what's funny sometimes, because I can sing quite high. On a really good day, I can sing.
Mariah Carey.
Oh, it was Mariah, because I thought you already discounted her. We talked about her like 3 minutes
No,
ago.
I thought I'm sorry, it was Mariah Carey. I'm thinking of the other one that died in
All
the
right, All I Want for
hospital.
Christmas. Yeah, okay, because we got rid of Whitney out of the stories. Yes. So actually, Mariah Carey's voice is not very high, but it sounds high because the way she sings it, because the rest of it's quite low.
Like I said,
Yeah.
mainstream media made it sound that way. It doesn't mean it is.
It's only an F that she sings, in fact. But yeah, no, because I can sing really high up to, as I sort of said, like a C sharp, which is what's called top C, and really low because since having 3 babies, it opened up my diaphragm, so I was able to sing lower. So I have a 4 octave range. I have to, keep it oiled, but I can. That's why I was nearly the Kate Bush covers band official. I think I told you that. They chose 3 women out of a whole lot of people. And then we had our last final audition. I'm glad I didn't get it because otherwise all I would have been doing is singing her songs. But yeah, it's a big range because why not? The point is you have an instrument, so explore it. It's like, what if I had a cello? I'm going to look at the C string and see what that C at the bottom sounds like. I'm going to look at the A string and see what that toppy top note sounds like, and I'm going to see if I can play all of those notes in between. It's the same thing with the human voice. It's great to be able to play around because there are different tones and characters available with different.
Do you have do you have a particular one that you prefer?
What in terms of range?
Yeah.
It just depends on what I'm singing, how I feel.
So there's nothing that is where you like the way you sound. You're comfortable with any range that you sing. Because I know there are some people. There was this one guy a long time ago. He loves to have his reverberation. He loved it, and he was singing a Christmas song, and he destroyed it. I mean, it was just horrible. And when he sat down, and this was during a Christmas get together with other singers, and I didn't even pay attention to him after that. And I think right now he's actually pretty old now, and he still does singing, but that particular one, when you sat down, you saw the look on his face was, I really should not have done that. He pushed it too hard.
Wow.
And you could tell that it's like, why did you go so far in a note and in that area, which wasn't his best range?
Right.
There's some that have a limited range.
But there's also this, which is interesting. As a child, I would sing, and my mother would interrupt me almost every time I started singing. And I was explaining this subconscious system to somebody who had a similar. No, she had throat restriction to her voice. She loved to sing, but she couldn't understand why she had so much restriction. And I explained this story because very often the people around you subconsciously want to repress you because they know you're independent of them when you're singing, because you're instantly, as soon as you sing, you're connected to your soul, because you have to be, to allow sound from nowhere through your body to materialize into space. You are automatically connected, and that's why I love to sing. And so I didn't understand that, of course, or any aspect of it. It was just constant interruption when I started to sing. And then after that came the next level of complaint, when it wasn't just interruption, which was, oh, that's very screeching. Oh, that's very piercing, my mother mostly would say. And I knew it was neither screeching nor piercing. However, certain frequencies she couldn't handle because they touched something. And I worked that one out when I had band members I was working with. And men have a lower level of hearing anyway because they have lower voices. Women, I've written about this extensively. Women have high voices because we look after tiny babies who have very high voices. So you have to be able to hear all of those nuances. That's why we have that higher hearing. And of course there are variations, but on the average, that's so it very frequently, some of the high notes are difficult for men to hear because they want the lower voices. And the higher notes can remind them of complaining women from their past, because if you are in a state of complaint as a female, your voice goes up. If you are hurt, if you are suffering, your voice goes up. It just is classic. It doesn't go down into the somber tones, it goes up in pain. And that will remind a male psyche who hasn't moved through whatever pain that they've acquired, and they push you out of it. So my bass player, my drummer, used to always try and sort of stop me from singing high, but at least there was me with my own opinion, and then there was one or two other musicians who didn't do that to me, so I was able to choose what I did. But I had to work that out, because I don't understand. For me, those notes were just placed in perfection for my feeling, for the song. It was at the crescendo or the peak moment, and for them it was uncomfortable. And so we have different pitches that we relate to. That's important to kind of go with.
Well, that's about it. I think that covers just about everything, and I'm kind of thinking that that's about a good place to stop
Yeah,
for
'cause
an interview.
It's 38 minutes. That was, yeah. You can tell that I
So,
like this
what do you
subject.
think?
I like this subject, obviously. I hope I wasn't too verbose.
Actually, watching you talk about these things was actually quite relaxing.
Mm.
Because it's you, it's the real you, and there was a flow of just information coming out of you about your knowledge and your experiences.
Mm.
And there was no ego, there was nothing. It was just nice.
And this is what we're
So,
supposed to share. I just listened to Laura Eisenhower talking to Dr. Michael Sala the other day, and because of how he honors her and she loves him too, that he enabled her to just flow out her brilliance. And sometimes she apologizes too much for herself, and she shouldn't, But I sent her a little note afterwards saying, it was just so lovely. I said how sweet she was in her brilliance, because, the things she was saying, no one else on this planet could say, right? Because of her background, her awareness, and her study. So you got the soul, the mind, and the emotion all working together, and it just does pour out of her. And she shouldn't be apologetic for it. She's right on the Nelly being herself. And in a sweet way of kind, warm, soft, feminine with brilliance, which is so rare. It's a lovely thing to be able to witness. We need to all be doing those, being in ourselves.
well, I think you did a good job.
So there we go. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like to use that song. I will put it a bit at the beginning, maybe, and a bit at the end, to hold this interview in its little hands. And I was
Well,
thinking of doing a video of that, actually. I think I did just some stills.
I think you should start putting your music out there, on these places. And I would even dare say, so take a look outside your back window.
I know, it's dark. Time has passed. Yeah, I know.
Like the sun set while we're talking about it. I look at, oh.
It's gone. Yeah.
So yeah, that went very, very well. I'm happy with that one. That should hopefully get some attention.
Thank you. There's no introduction to you. I did a little tiny introduction
I'm
at the beginning.
not
But it's nothing
worried
But
about.
what I can do with that is
I believe that's time to receive your love. Open like a flower to this gift from above. I am the jewel. Your light is sparkling in me. I play the fool to it's time to receive, to believe that it's yours, oh as I feed you with my precious light. This was only critical, continental, those endless fights. It's time to wash away those tears and endless pain. Free the soul, dancing in the night. It's time now to bring in the gifts of this age. It's time to listen to the words of the sage. Gathering, begin to play with being you, being me. It's time. Together we can be who we wanted to be.